Hey guys, you're listening to ShadeCore with Morgan Vale. Today I'm going to cover 5 cases that have remained unsolved to this day, and they all took place around Christmas season in past years and have remained a mystery, deeply affecting their loved ones and the communities that they left behind. Hello and happy holidays. I hope you had a good Christmas. New Year's is on the way, and I did want to release this episode before Christmas, but here we are. I wanted to talk to you today about crimes that are unsolved that happened around Christmas season. I'm going to go over 5 cases that have not been solved to this day and still remain a mystery to those who love them and the communities they left behind. So number 1 is the case of Venus Extravaganza. Venus was only 23 years old at the time of her passing in 1988 when she was found bound, asphyxiated, and unalive in New York City's Fulton Hotel in a hotel room. Her body was found by a maid on December 21st, 1988, and to this day, there has been no lead suspect. The case remains a mystery, and it is widely speculated that the lack of NYPD's urgency to solve this case over the years has been due to their discrimination against her identity at the time. Again, it was 1988. She is of Puerto Rican and Italian descent. She was a trans woman, but not only that, she was also participating in sex work and using substances at the time, which of course in no way means that she deserved what happened to her, but it's to give you a background on why NYPD may not have taken her case seriously and why she was discriminated against with the investigation, why this was handled poorly. She was very well known and continues to be a legend to this day in the underground ballroom scene, and she was even featured in the documentary Paris is Burning, but she didn't live to see the premiere of the documentary. And there was actually another documentary in more recent years released about her, and it's called I'm Your Venus. It's on Netflix, and it's very good. It kind of discusses how her biological family, her brothers John, Joe, and Louis Pelagatti come together to join with her chosen family, the House of Extravaganza, which was the name of her house. She was in the ballroom community, so ballroom members tend to belong to a house, and this is where her chosen family, the Extravaganzas, are depicted. They come together with her biological brothers to put their differences aside and request that NYPD reopen her case, as well as posthumously change her name to Venus Pelagatti Extravaganza. So they changed it from her dead name, which, if you don't know, to a trans person, a dead name is a negative association. Often it is the name that they were given at birth associated with the gender they don't identify with. So it is rude to bring up. And because that was what was on her tombstone and her birth certificate, they changed it for her posthumously to honor who she really was. To piggyback off of that, as of 2022, her case has been reopened, and this is thanks to her family, the House of Extravaganza's members, as well as her brothers, the Pelagattis, and the Transdo Task Force. And the Transdo Task Force is a group of people that work together to help identify trans people that have gone missing or have been unalived. The 3 came together to fight to reopen her case, and officially it was reopened in 2022. But to this day, there are no lead suspects. On March 31st, 2023, Trans Day of Visibility, New Jersey voted unanimously to designate the house in which Venus lived in with her grandmother, who was accepting of her identity. This was also the house that was featured in the scenes where Venus is being interviewed for that documentary, Paris is Burning. So the city of New Jersey unanimously voted for this house to be marked as a historical landmark for the LGBTQ community. And that house is in the Hamilton Park Historic District of Jersey City in New Jersey. The second case is one that you may be very familiar with, as it's a case that has baffled America and the entire world and continues to do so. So this is the case of JonBenet Ramsey, and it is a very famous case She was a 6-year-old beauty pageant contestant or 6-year-old beauty queen. Her case has led people down a roller coaster ride since she was found dead. If you have not heard of this case of JonBenet Ramsey, you might be living under a rock because this case has been in the news all across the world for approximately 2 decades. There's been numerous podcasts and documentaries and articles covering this case. It's one that is really highly sensationalized, I might add, just because of the context. It involves a fairly wealthy family, a child beauty queen. It occurred on Christmas Day in Boulder, Colorado. So it really left the community in shock when it occurred. And it's also had a lot of twists and turns with different suspects throughout the years. JonBenet Ramsey was a child beauty pageant contestant who lived in Boulder, Colorado with her parents, John and Patsy Ramsey, and her older brother, Burke, who would have been 9 years old at the time of her murder. On December 26, 1996, when she was only 6 years old, she was found unalived in the basement of her family's home. The autopsy ruled her death as a homicide. At first, the Boulder police suspected her parents, John and Patsy, to be prime suspects, stating that JonBenet's mother, Patsy, may have written the cryptic ransom letter that was left behind by who is believed to be the perpetrator. And I'll read you the note. This is a 2.5-page note addressed to Mr. Ramsey, John Ramsey. It says, Mr. Ramsey, listen carefully. We are a group of individuals that represent a small foreign faction. We respect your business, but not the country that it serves. At this time, we have your daughter in our possession. She is safe and unharmed, and if you want her to see 1997, you must follow our instructions to the letter. You will withdraw $118,000 from your account. $100,000 will be in $100 bills, and the remaining $18,000 in $20 bills. Make sure that you bring an adequate size attaché to the bank. When you get home, you will put the money in a brown paper bag. I will call you between 8 and 10 a.m. tomorrow to instruct you on delivery. The delivery will be exhausting, so I advise you to be rested. If we monitor you getting the money early, we might call you early to arrange an earlier delivery of the money and hence an earlier pickup of your daughter. Any deviation of my instruction will result in the immediate execution of your daughter. You will also be denied her remains for a proper burial. The 2 gentlemen watching over your daughter do not particularly like you, so I advise you not to provoke them. Speaking to anyone about your situation, such as police, FBI, etc., will result in your daughter being beheaded. If we catch you talking to a stray dog, she dies. If you alert bank authorities, she dies. If the money is in any way marked or tampered with, she dies. You will be scanned for electronic devices, and if any are found, she dies. You can try to deceive us, but be warned, we are familiar with law enforcement. Countermeasures and tactics. You stand a 99% chance of killing your daughter if you try to outsmart us. Follow our instructions, and you stand a 100% chance of getting her back. You and your family are under constant scrutiny, as well as the authorities. Don't try to grow a brain, John. You are not the only fat cat around, so don't think that killing will be difficult. Don't underestimate us, John. Use that good Southern common sense of yours. It's up to you now, John. And then it says, victory. And then it's signed SBTC. And nobody knows what that stands for, but there have been many theories. So let me know if you want to go into a deep dive on this case, because it is endless when it comes to conspiracies and different theories about who may have hurt her. And many have actually been disproven by DNA testing that is more current. FBI profile Jim Clement at the time also stated that the ransom note was completely staged because the note was written more than once. According to forensic scientist Henry Lee, the notepad belonged to Patsy, the mother. It also claimed that the killer had practiced writing out the note, attributed to a small foreign faction several times. The final version of the note was found by Patsy at the foot of the stairs in their Boulder, Colorado home, where JonBenet's beaten and strangled remains were found in the basement on December 26, 1996. FBI profiler Jim Clement said, whoever wrote this managed to commit a murder, find the pad, find the pen, practice a couple times because they didn't want to show bad penmanship or something, write it, and then put the pad and pen back to where they normally are kept. So there's a lot of theories. There's also theories that her father was in on it because there were no track marks in the snow leading to the basement or the house where JonBenét's body was found. There's theories that her brother Burke did it. There's theories that it was the town Santa Claus. Then there's the town drifter. There's the housekeeper or maid that was also a suspect. A lot of people have been suspects. And there's also been people that have falsely admitted to being the perpetrator that have been just sick in the head. However, Patsy Ramsey, the mother, tragically passed in 2006 following an over decade-long battle with ovarian cancer, and she was only 49 years old. And as of 2008, 2 years after Patsy's passing, both parents were completely cleared as suspects in the case after new DNA technology showed that the traces found in JonBenét's pants belonged to an unidentified male's DNA, and he remains unidentified to this day. Lately, this case is resurfacing in the news once again, with Boulder police saying they are hopeful that JonBenét's killer will be found using the latest technology in DNA testing. This was talked about in an interview given by the Boulder police chief, Stephen Redfern. He said, and I quote, "This past year, our detectives have conducted several new interviews as well as re-interviewed individuals based on tips we've received. We have also collected new evidence and tested and retested other pieces of evidence to generate new leads. However, he and other police have not discussed what the new evidence is, who they've been interviewing or re-interviewing, so there's really nothing much else as an update with the JonBené Ramsey case. So as of 1996, this case is still wide open, and we are still waiting on who may be a lead suspect at this time. But as of now, at this moment of recording, I'm not aware that there are any lead suspects right now. The third case I want to talk to you about is dubbed the case of the Christmas tree lady, and I'll get to why in a second. But I know it's messed up to give cases nicknames like this. However, she was discovered on December 18th, 1996, just days before Christmas time. The way she was found was odd. A groundskeeper found her in a cemetery at the Pleasant Valley Memorial Park in Annandale, Virginia on December 18th, 1996. At first, her death was ruled a suicide. She was found with a bag over her head, an 8-inch Christmas tree, a backpack, a cassette tape player, and headphones, and some money in her pocket. In fact, she had 2 envelopes in her pocket. One had what some people thought was a self-exit note, and the other was an envelope with some money. The envelope with the note said, "Deceased by own hand. Prefer no autopsy. Please order cremation with funds provided. Thank you." Which is a really odd note to leave, don't you think? Because I feel like that just screams that there was somebody who did it and wants to cover up their tracks so that there is no further investigation to this day. Well, spoiler alert, they performed an autopsy anyway, and the cause of death was found to be strangulation. So there is reason to believe that this was not a self-exit, and her death was thought to be a suicide for a long time. In 2022, thanks to the Texas lab Othram, which conducted DNA tests, indicated that a man named David Meyer could be the Christmas tree lady's brother. And after her brother, David Meyer, looked at the drawing, he confirmed that in fact it was her. It took over 25 years to identify her, and she was finally identified in 2022. This is after being found in 1996. She was discovered to be Joyce Marilyn Myers Summers, who was originally from Davenport, Iowa, and to this day, her death remains a mystery. The fourth case I want to talk to you about is a case that occurred on Christmas Eve in 1945, and it has remained an utter mystery to this day. And sadly, the family and the last of its survivors have all passed away, but for years, for almost 40 years, there were billboards of these children all around West Virginia. And this is the case of the Sauter family murders, and it takes place in Fayetteville, West Virginia. So George and Jenny Sauter were parents, and they were living with 9 of their 10 children in their home in Fayetteville, West Virginia. Their oldest son, who was 18, was not living in the home as he was serving in active duty at the time. The children's ages ranged from age 2 years to 18 years old. So that's already crazy to me, but it gets crazier. I mean, it gets crazy. It's crazy to me that they have 10 kids and they range from that big of an age difference, but it was a different time. The war had just ended. On Christmas Eve in 1945, George and Jenny gave 5 of the Sauter family children permission to stay up late on Christmas Eve while they went to sleep with the other 4 children. Around 1 a.m. in the morning on Christmas Eve, so December 24th, 1945, a fire broke out in the house. The children that were with the parents were rushed out with the parents, who all survived. However, the 5 children who had stayed up, which were 14-year-old Maurice, 12-year-old Martha, 9-year-old Louise, 8-year-old Jenny, and 5-year-old Betty, were believed to have perished in the fire. However, afterwards, investigators could not find any remnants of human bodies among the ashes in the home that had burnt down. So this was very odd to the family. And although authorities eventually ruled this as an accidental fire, and they stated that due to very high temperatures, the bodies may have disintegrated, the families never took that as an answer. And I don't blame them, because I think that's odd as well. I don't know the chemistry behind it, but I think it's odd for not a single human remain to be found when there are 5 children that were believed to have perished in a house. There were also other suspicious things that made the family believe that this was not an accident and that their children had been kidnapped. For example, George reported that his ladder was mysteriously missing from its usual spot, suggesting that a perpetrator or kidnapper of his children may have moved it after using it to kidnap the children. One witness reported seeing the children in a passing car at the time of the fire. And a week later, after Christmas Eve in 1945, a hotel worker in Charleston claimed that she had served breakfast to 4 of the 5 missing children, who were accompanied by what she described as hostile adults. Another report says that the waitress reported that the adults would not even allow her to speak to the children as she was serving food. But there have been no leads since the time that the Sauter children went missing. The family, the Sauters, even believed that the Sicilian mafia may have been involved. Both Jenny and George were immigrants, and George was very outspoken about his disliking and his criticism towards the Italian dictator Mussolini. And apparently, a few days before the fire broke out, he had received a warning from another Italian about speaking harshly about Mussolini. Years later, the Sauters also received a letter that was cryptic from somebody claiming to be their son, but this letter never led to anything further. They spent the rest of their lives not knowing what happened to their children. The last case I want to talk to you about took place around Christmas Eve and remains a mystery to this day. There are no leads in this case as well. In 1993, on December 24th, the body of an Englishman and father of 2 named Paul Logan was found. He was only 25 years old, and he had been working late as a food delivery driver for a Chinese takeout company. He was found 50 yards from his car, which was a vintage, well, maybe back then it was a vintage, but it was a Peugeot. And he was found with fatal head wounds on a farmland near Shotley Bridge, Consett. So this takes place in Consett, England. I don't know if I'm saying that right. So please comment in the section if I'm not, in the comment section if I'm not. But he was found on a farmland near Shotley Bridge, Consett, in County Durham. Paul had been working the night before on December 23rd, 1993, when he received a request for food to be delivered to a remote farm at Blue House Farm at around 10 p.m. at night. However, when he showed up, the property owners of the farm told him that they never placed an order. It was later established that this was a hoax phone call for food request made by the perpetrator in order to lure Paul Logan to his death. Because hours later, his body was found 50 yards from his car with fatal wounds believed to have been caused by a blunt instrument as a weapon. However, the weapon has never been recovered. It was later established that the phone call was placed for the food order to be a way to lure Paul to the farm so that someone could ambush him. Investigators later found that the phone call and food order was placed from a telephone kiosk at the junction of Snows Green Road and Benfieldside Road in Shotley Bridge. The Northumbria police have no leads at this time. In 2018, Paul Logan's daughter, Natalie, who was only a baby at the time of his death, appealed for help in tracing those responsible for the murder of the father she never knew, and this case remains a mystery to this day. So those are 5 cases that are cold cases that have not been resolved to this day. You're listening to ShadeCore with Morgan Vale. And that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for listening. Hope you enjoyed my episode this week. I have more coming for you next week. Let me know in the comment section if there are any cases you'd like me to cover, what your theories might be on any of these cases. And I hope you have a wonderful holiday season. Be safe.